I'm going to break this in the garage. So I bought 20 feet of hose to push the exhaust out the garage. I'm going to have probably a container at the end to catch the excess oil. But this is the best I could do based on how cold it is outside right now. So I'm just going to break it in the garage. I have the heat gun going to keep the temperature no less than 200 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm gonna break in the engine with my fuel of choice, Bones Brew, 30% nitro, 10% oil. So what I've done, I took an empty Bones Brew bottle. I take my body reamer, open up a hole in the cap, push the hole, the hose inside the bottle. So that will be taking the excess oil or fuel, so we don't have that on the ground or in the grass. For the break-in of the engine, I have my heat gun, my temp gun, my glow igniter, my roller start, and my screwdriver. So everything is set to base setting as you get in the engine. I don't know how much turns that is from closure. This is how you'll get the engine, so I'm not gonna mess with the needles. So the air gap is set from factory. I'm gonna try to start it as is with the engine warmed up to around 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So the block is around 175. The glow plug air is around 253. I'm gonna go ahead and start it now. So this is tank number one. Tank number one. See the needle setting. When you run the exhaust through a pipe, the back pressure will be a little bit higher. So what you need to do is lean out the settings a little bit more than if you were running open exhaust to atmosphere. The pipe has a little bit of restriction in it, so it will make you run rich. So you want to lean it out a little bit more for it to keep running. So we're getting close to 200. Want to get that temperature up. So far the engine sounds okay. Holding temperature. keeping it rich. Degrees, that's good. So one tank is almost done. We'll check the temperature now. Idle went down, you can hear it, so I think it already hit its max temperature for breaking it, because it should be running a little bit lean now, but it's still, the idle went down, so the sleeve is setting in. The idle is stable, so I'm going to let it cool off after the tank is finished, and run another idle tank through it, and then that'll be the 2 idle tanks I'm going to run. I'm not going to run 3, and then I'll do the half throttle tomorrow if possible. So I'm about to start the second tank. The engine is cooled down to 57 degrees Fahrenheit. It's still a bit cold in the garage here, so it's thermally stable at 57.3. So I'm gonna keep the same settings I have on the needle, see if it will fire up on the second tank. So it's fired up. Right up, no problem. Let's see if we're making temperature. Still running rich. A lot of oil coming from the exhaust. So tank number 2. Still running rich. So my last tank is almost done. You could hear the carburetor, you know, well not the engine, it's idling very steady. The carburetor is not changing its tune, at least at idle, on idle. The carb is thermally insulated from the engine block, so the heat is not getting into the carb and heating it up and letting the incoming fuel boil. And it has been idling like this for the whole second tank. Steady. So at least on idle, the carburetor seems to be holding up. It's not over revving as the engine gets warmer. It's not getting rich. So far I think the carburetor is doing its job. I've broken in previous LRP 32s. This is the non-thermal sleeve, and it doesn't idle as stable as this one. So I think at least on the idling, I'm seeing improvements with this carburetor. I'm almost done with the second idle time, right? And this will be my last. I'm only going to run 2 idle times. Then tomorrow, I will do part load with 2 more tanks. And then I'll start to tune it on the 5th tank. So on the 5th tank, I'll give it full throttle snaps. And then I'll start to tune the carburetor. But before I start to do the tuning, I'm going to register the needle settings for the high speed, the low speed, the mid speed, and the idle screw. And I'm going to document that and compare it to what the base setting is in the manual. And I'll provide that information back to LRP. There's one caveat. I had to run the needles a little bit on the leaner side because the back pressure of the pipe went up because of the restriction of this line. It adds a little bit of restriction, which makes the engine wants to run a little bit rich because the pressure going back to the tank is a little bit higher, right? So you're not getting any lean in, mid-tank leaning in the idle. But you have to take that into consideration if you have a long hose on your exhaust. It will make the back pressure of the pipe increase in the tank, so you'd have to lean it out a little bit more than what you would normally do. Again, I'm going to keep the setting that I'm using now and compare that when I'm running it so you can see the impact on what the pipe is doing with the hose on it. Okay, so stay tuned. This is the amount of oil collected from running 2 tanks of braking idle through the LRP. So this is what came out of the engine. You know, not all the constituents of your fuel burns, only the nitro burns, nitromethane. The oil, the caster part of the oil actually doesn't get broken down. It's not part of the combustion process. So it passes through the cycle of the exhaust. It doesn't get burned. The reason why I like caster, you know, is for that particular reason. It does not break down on the temperature, at least where the engine is running at. So it maintains stable film to lubricate the parts. Synthetic fuel will burn. Fully synthetic natural fuel is part of the combustion, so it burns as opposed to caster. So it's good to have a 50-50 mixing ratio of caster to synthetic. You know, most fuel makers have their own percentages. Bones is around 50-50 or 51-49 ratio between caster and fully synthetic blend. Now, I'm gonna let this sediment settle because there's some stuff right there. And I'm gonna try to collect it and see what it is. It's a brand new engine, so it will have residues inside of it. As the parts move and wear, it will generate debris. And I'm gonna suspend that from the oil and collect it in a filter patch and see what we got out of the engine during the braking process. Stay tuned for continuation of the breaking in of the brand new LRP 32x Spec 4.1 engine. I'll go ahead and post what I've done so far on the Savage
Facebook groups to keep you guys updated on the progress. As I do more running videos for the on-road tuning, I will upload those as well. But I'm going to go ahead and upload what I've done tonight. Peace.